sir. You cannot be here. This property is federal. Move along." The officer's voice cut through the morning fog, sharp, dismissive, final. He didn't ask. He ordered. The old black man paused, one hand on the rusted gate of the Weller Point Lighthouse, the other gripping a dented thermos. His coat was threadbare, his boots cracked and worn smooth at the soles. He said nothing, just nodded once, slow and deliberate. "You hear me? I said move along." The young white officer stepped closer now, hand resting on his belt, not quite on his holster, but not far either. The man didn't move, didn't raise his voice, didn't argue. He simply reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a key, a long iron thing with a weathered tag hanging from it. The officer snatched it from his hand. "Where the hell did you get this?" No answer, just silence and tired eyes that had seen too much to be rattled by a boy in uniform. "This is government property, old man. You're not special. You're trespassing." Behind him, a few tourists had gathered, watching. One woman pulled out her phone. Another muttered, "Homeless." Another laughed, "Probably thinks he owns the place." No one knew. No one cared. Not until the storm rolled in that night. The kind of storm that crushes coastlines and severs power lines. Boats were slammed against the pier. Windows shattered downtown. The sky howled. The town went dark. Except for the lighthouse. Its beam cut through the rain like a knife through cloth, unwavering, guiding, saving. By morning, the town was still standing, but the man was not. They found him at the base of the spiral stairs, slumped forward, eyes closed, one hand still wrapped around the lever that controlled the backup generator. Dead. No ID, no address, no name. Just a canvas bag. And inside? Letters. Dozens of them. Some yellowed with time, some freshly sealed. All written by hand, all addressed by name. And one letter that had no stamp. Just a name scrawled carefully on the envelope. Officer Travis Denton. The police station was unusually quiet that morning. The fog from the storm still clung to the town like a breath half-held. Officer Travis Denton leaned over the plastic evidence bag on his desk, lips drawn in a tight line. The letter sat inside it. No return address, no stamp, just his name, in neat, deliberate handwriting. His hands hovered over the bag. He hadn't touched it yet. He remembered the man. Of course he did. How he had barked at him the day before, treated him like a vagrant, like a problem to move, not a person to greet. And now he was dead, and somehow had left a letter with his name on it. He finally opened it. The paper was thick, old, the kind people used when writing meant something. He unfolded it slowly. The ink was deep blue, steady, the hand of someone who still believed in care. "Dear Officer Denton, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer among the living. I wish I could have handed this to you directly, but I suspect time, pride, and perception would never have allowed it. You do not know me, but I know you. I know you grew up just 2 streets over from the pier. I know you spent your teenage years tossing rocks into the surf and wondering why your father never talked about the lighthouse, why he always flinched when the storm sirens blew. I know because I was there. 40 years ago there was another storm, meaner than this one. The sea swallowed half the town that night, and a boy, your father, was trapped with his mother in a house that should have gone under. But it didn't, because I lit the beacon. Not just the main one, the backup, the signal flare, the horn. I broke orders that night. The state had pulled funding for full-time keepers, but I stayed anyway, alone, cold, unpaid, because people like your father needed someone to see them through." Travis paused, his breath caught in his throat. His father had never spoken much about the storm of '84. Only once after too many beers had he said, "Someone saved us, never knew who, just light in the dark." Travis kept reading. "I am not writing this for thanks. I don't need it. I'm writing because yesterday, when you looked at me, you didn't see a man. You saw trouble,
waste, maybe something to be pitied, maybe something to be ignored. And I don't blame you, not entirely. We live in a world that teaches you to fear what does not shine, to dismiss what does not speak loudly. But light, real light, is not loud. It simply stands there, through rain and ridicule and silence. Travis stood abruptly from the desk. His chair rolled back and hit the wall. The other officers turned to look. "Everything okay?" someone asked, but he didn't answer. He walked out the front doors of the station, the letter still in his hand, and got in his cruiser. Destination: Weller Point. The lighthouse had been sealed by the county, pending property reassignment, but Travis had keys, authority, rank, none of which meant much now. The place smelled like salt and old metal, the kind of smell that lingered through decades. He climbed the spiral stairs, passing rusted railings and tools that hadn't moved in years. The backup generator still hummed, low, like it missed the hands that used to tend it. At the top, the light was still rotating, steady, unbothered by the world below. He looked around. There was no clutter, no pictures, just an iron bed frame, a wooden chair, a single mug, and a notebook, frayed but meticulously kept. He opened it. Inside were pages, dozens of them, each one a letter. Letters to people in town, letters to men who had once served, letters to mothers who had lost sons overseas, letters to children who had once wandered too far out in the fog. He had written them all, by hand. None had ever been sent, and yet every single one knew exactly who they were meant for. When Travis returned to the station, his eyes were red. He didn't speak, but he brought the notebook with him. He called a press conference. That night, on the town square, he stood behind the podium, his badge heavy on his chest. He held up the letter. "Yesterday I mocked a man. I laughed with others when I should have looked harder. That man saved my father. That man gave his life to serve this town, quietly, faithfully, and without asking for anything in return. I saw a coat. I saw skin. I did not see the light." There was silence in the crowd, then tears, then murmurs, and then applause, not thunderous, but reverential, like waves against a shore.
The next morning, the town didn't wake to traffic or chatter. It woke to silence, a silence heavy with reflection. Flags flew at half-staff, not by order, but by quiet consensus. And for the first time in decades, Weller Point's lighthouse stood still. Its beam paused in honor, its lens covered with a black shroud. Travis Denton stood again at the base of the lighthouse, not as a police officer, not even as a man in uniform, just a son. A man trying to understand the weight of what had been right in front of him all along, and how close he came to stepping over it. The mayor called an emergency town meeting. The community center overflowed with people, some clutching tissues, others clutching memories they hadn't thought about in years. Mrs. Lopez from the bakery spoke first. "I remember him now. He used to come by every Tuesday, never bought anything, just asked how my son was doing after Afghanistan. I thought he was a bit odd, but now I remember, the night of the storm he left bread by every door on my block." Others followed. "He repaired the pier lights, and no one paid him. He helped my father when his boat capsized in '89, just showed up, never said his name. He fixed the school's flagpole the week before Veterans Day. I thought the janitor did it." One by one, their shame became memory, and their memory became gratitude, and gratitude became action. 3 days later, the town gathered again, this time at the lighthouse. The county cleared the land. The lighthouse, once slated for demolition, was now to be preserved, not as a building, but as a man's legacy. A bronze statue was commissioned, not grand, not towering, just a man, in a coat too thin, holding a lantern against the wind, eyes forward, spine straight. At the base, an inscription. He lit the way,
even when no one saw him standing there. They renamed the road leading to the cliffside Carver's Way. The lighthouse itself, now designated a state monument, was given a new name, the Andrew Carver Memorial Beacon. But it wasn't the plaque or the statue that held the most meaning. It was the letter, the original handwritten letter, now framed in glass inside the town hall. It sat beside a small exhibit, his notebook, a pair of worn boots, and his final thermos, still half full of cold black coffee. Visitors came. Field trips from schools brought children. Veterans left coins at the statue's base. Some saluted, others wept. And Officer Travis Denton? He didn't return to patrol duty. Instead, he started something called the Watchkeeper Project, a local outreach program focused on listening to the forgotten, veterans, homeless, elders. He wore civilian clothes now, but the badge still hung in his office, right next to the framed words that changed his life. You saw trouble, waste, maybe something to be pitied, maybe something to be ignored. But light, real light, is not loud. It simply stands there. Every December, on the anniversary of the storm, the town holds a vigil. No speeches, no politics, no cameras. Just light. Hundreds of lanterns are carried to the edge of the cliffs and held high against the sea wind. And for one night each year, Weller Point glows brighter than any skyline, because of a man who never asked to be known, who never demanded to be seen, who never stopped showing up. And now he is never forgotten. Steel Heart Stories, because some heroes do not shine in the spotlight. They are the light.